Is something wrong with the tank?
No, it's steering hard left, but we're going to take it out again and try it. There's a way around that I can neutral steer it and make it spin. It's just a little bit more complicated, but we're going to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. And the plan is to take it out again for more riders.
Is it difficult to drive the Russian tank?
Well, typically they are very difficult to drive, yes. I mean, compared to the American tanks, the British tanks, they are a handful to drive. You may have seen videos where the driver in one actually has a sledgehammer and he hits the shifter that is not far from the truth.
That's because the tank is broken already, but I was under the impression that the Russian tank T34, this one actually was the easiest tank to operate because they mass produced it for Russian people.
Well, yeah, there were over 55,000 T34 series tanks made during World War II. It was the most produced tank of the war. The second most produced was the American Sherman series. There were over 49,200 of those made. So it was the most produced tank of the war, continued to be manufactured probably well after the war too. And it is certainly easy to produce. Nice design. The sloped armor in the front gives a tank something called obliquity.
Can we go there and
Sure, absolutely. You can take a look at it.
Yeah, please, because this way.
We're done. This 4 rides are coming out.
Soviet T34-85 tank. Christie suspension. The suspension on this tank was designed by an American named Christie. The United States didn't care for it. The Soviets loved it. They opted to put it on their T34 series. 2 major versions of the tank. The T34-76 was the first one that debuted in combat. Hull very similar. Turret much smaller on the T34-76. The earlier version had a 76 millimeter gun. The later version, the second model of it, the T34-85, had an 85 millimeter gun. So much bigger gun, bigger capability against a variety of targets. Armor in the turret much bigger on the 85. So a number of improvements. They improved the transmission, some of the automotive stuff. Quite honestly, the early tanks in the series, the T34-76s, were essentially rushed into action for obvious reasons. And so there were a number of issues with those. They realized that. But having that tank there was very, very important more than. So they put up with some of the challenges. And as the war dragged on, they continued to improve them. So.
Can you tell me what this box is? Let's get closer to it.
This is just stowage boxes. Inside the tank is essentially everything inside is all business, so to speak. So a lot of the equipment that you need in a tank has got to be stored on the outside of it. So these are equipment boxes. They would be good for tools, personal items, instruments. You see, we've got a saw on the outside. One of the ways you can help unditch a tank if it's stuck in the mud is you actually take cables, steel cables, and put a log around the back, and that helps to take it out if it's stuck. So these are reserve fuel tanks on the port and starboard side. Boxes could be anything from rations to spare parts to personal items. Typically, everything the crew needs is going to be on the outside of the tank. So,
and ammunition, extra ammunition, every ammunition was inside the tank.
Yeah, the stowage ammunition is all inside. Engine in the back, this is a power pack, so the engine and the transmission are mated. The Sherman series is a little different. It's modular, so the engine's in the back, transmission's in the front. There's one auxiliary weapon. If you look up in front, we've got a machine gun that's mounted in a ball mount.
Okay.
Right here. 5-man crew in this version.
There's a dedicated driver and dedicated machine gun.
That hatch is the driver. Seated next to him is the bow gunner or the assistant driver. And up in the turret, you've got tank commander up top. Seated down in front of him, you have a gunner. And then on this side of the turret, you have the loader. And there's another auxiliary machine gun right here that's mounted coaxially with the main gun.
Got it. You can drive the tank with the hatch closed, right?
Yes, oh yeah.
Because there's a glass
In
there.
action, typically, of course, all the hatches are going to be closed. The only exception to that would be the tank commander. They do have periscopes. You can actually see one at the top of the turrets there. You can see that where the hatches are. The two prism lenses, they're periscopes. When you're buttoned up inside the tank, that's what the crew is looking through.
Including the driver.
Yeah, driver also. The challenge with that is you've got a very limited field of view.
I know nobody's driving.
You're only looking through a spot about that big. So it's very difficult to get a true peripheral vision. They do rotate in housings. So for one of those reasons, typically you saw the tank commanders up and out of the tank, vice down inside it, so that they could be have better situational awareness of what's going on around them, looking for targets, all those kinds of things.
Got it. Beautiful. Very, very good. Thank you very much, sir, for everything.
No i tutaj spotykamy znowu naszego znajomego T34 z zeszłego roku. Tym razem jestem tutaj z Elizabeth, która stara się przekonać tatę, że bardzo chciałaby mieć taki czołg jako dodatkowy pojazd. Ja nie wiem, czy tata byłby zadowolony z tego pomysłu, ale prawdopodobnie to się nie wydarzy. No, ale przynajmniej może sobie go obejrzeć z bliska, dotknąć.
Piękny, piękny.
Jakiej naprawdę będzie się tak bardzo podobał, to jeszcze przyjedzie następnym razem. Okej.
Dziękuję.
No. And here's the other thing. When you go down there, right?
Run over my head.
This is the
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, dear. You're welcome.